Okay, perfect. Then let's get started. Welcome to our new release update from Lockup 6.3 this time. I hope you had a great summer break, or maybe some are still in the summer break. Yes, but for us who are back at work or have to work, then let's maybe give a new update what came out now. And I think we also have some really cool features that we can present today. I'm really excited to show you this ones, and then let's directly take a look at our agenda. So give me 1 second. Yeah, here it is. Perfect. So today I actually want to show you 4 different topics. One topic is that we can connect now the supply chain apps with Claude and with ChatGPT. So not only with Claude and ChatGPT, in general, we publicly released our MCP server, and this is the technology that is actually behind if you want to connect to a large language model. The same MCP server is also used in our supply chain agent that we presented in the beginning of the year. And now we enable the MCP server that you can also directly connect with Claude or with ChatGPT. So if you have their Pro license, or it works also with a free license, this is what I will show you and demonstrate you today. Then additionally, we also release a new application, the 3D container loading optimization app. It helps you to actually load a container with your parcels or boxes in 3D, like the name already says. So pretty cool application. Yes, the whole time we had a 2D packing app, and this one can do this now in a 3-dimensional way. This is this one new app I want to introduce today. Then we also had some additional enhancement at the Freight Matrix Plus application. So we have now a smart freight zoning and a conditional surcharges that it's even some additional features that you can fully model all the rules of your tariffs that you have. And what we also did, we started with some rework on our existing dashboards. We adjusted all the dashboards in the whole network design area. This means all center of gravity application, network design plus, and also location planning. And this one, what we also want to show you today. Additionally, just to mention, there's nothing what I can really show. The location planning application is now also on top of our new solver. In the last release, we introduced our new solver Hexally, and there we also added now the location planning on top. But this is just a small comment. Okay, perfect. Then let's get started and directly jump into the tool. And I want to demonstrate you today, or show you how you can connect actually Claude. So I will do the example with Claude. The same one you can also do with ChatGPT. How can you integrate or use the apps together with Claude and ChatGPT? Therefore, I recommend you, when you open the add-in, go to the platform. And here on the platform, we have our supply chain apps documentation. So like shown already often before, right? Here's the documentation of all the different applications that we have. And here is also a documentation how you can actually connect our MCP server or the MCP connector. We will do it today for the Claude desktop. So this is this section. For ChatGPT, you can see this section. What we actually will need is exactly this. This is actually the URL to our MCP server. And now I will quickly show you how this is, for example, done in the Claude. And then we for sure will also make some examples. So I have here a Claude desktop version open. If you go here to the plus, where you can normally add additional files, you will see that we have here some connectors. Then you can go to manage connectors, or you can go here to add connector, add custom connector. I want to first go to manage connectors. Then you can see I have here already a connector from us in there, but it's not connected. That's why I just want to show you how this would normally work. You click here on add, say custom connector. You would give it a name, supply chain apps. And the only thing what you need to do now, you need to paste the URL in here. Then you click add, because I have this connector already. I will click cancel. You don't have to fill here anything in the auth settings. This will be done when you click on connect. And then it will look like this, or most likely it will look like this. So that means the MCP server is not connected. when you click on connect, then let's give it a second, and there should a browser window open. And here you recognize already our website or our format. And then you need to authenticate with your API key, right? With the lockup API key. And you put the API key in here and then say authorize and connect. It takes a couple of seconds, and then he wants that we actually reopen the Claude, and then you see now he is connected. And we can see that he is connected because we directly get a list of all the tools that are actually now available. So here you see all the tools that we currently implemented. There are, for example, all these apps that we implemented. And there are also, for example, features like list workspace, grade workspace, and so on. I set the settings here to always allow. You can have here different configuration. By default, it is set to needs approval. This would mean whenever Claude is using actually a tool, so something what you see here is actually one tool, and then he would ask you for it. So for the demo purpose, because I have a case that will maybe run around 20 minutes in the background, then I don't always want to click always allow. That's why I set it up here to always allow. So now we have actually the supply chain apps connected to Claude. And to check if this now really works, I can ask him, can you list me my workspaces? He understands now that he has there in the tool, and if everything works fine, then I will, okay, so he recognized already that there is something with lockup, supply chain apps integration, and hopefully he can actually list now our workspaces. I opened here Claude in the co-work format, and when we click here now, we should also see the supply chain apps connector. You can also disable the connector here again during some other sections, and now he saw already, hey, here are some workspaces, and as you can see, these are then directly with some links from my last demos and so on, from the 5.1 lockup. And if I would click, for example, here, then I will be directly linked to our platform and to our workspace. But this is just a quick connection check. While I'm here on the platform, I can directly show you how you get actually your API key if you did not use this before. You click here on your name, you go to manage account, you click here on integration, and here on integration, you just click on create API key. And here you see then all the calls that were actually done. As you can see, he just did the get all workspaces a couple of seconds ago. This was just Claude with the API call. Yes, so on this page, you get actually the API key. But for sure, listing the workspace is not that impressive. Let's take a look what we can do with this colleague here. What I think is extremely powerful also with Claude, and especially Claude Desktop, you can also work with existing files and also really big files. So today, what I just did as a demo, for example, if you have some existing CSV files, what I just copy in here, I have here a CSV file. This contains, for example, some existing warehouses, right? For sure, for the demo itself, a really small file. You can also put in your customer data in all kinds of formats, and you can just tell him what he pretty much needs to do. For sure, it's AI. It's not guaranteed that it's always correct, but it's actually pretty impressive what he can do. Let's directly try this. As this is a live demo, I could not always guarantee that everything will go perfectly fine, but let's give it a shot. I have here a longer prompt. Let's directly start with this one. Again, I open the chat in the co-work mode. So this means he will create us here on the right side and also a plan. So while he is working on, let's quickly analyze what I actually asked him. I told him, hey, I provide you here a CSV file with existing warehouses. And the first thing what I said, as you remember from the last webinars, normally I always create a workspace. And in this workspace, we worked then today during our webinar. Today, I told him, please create this workspace, lockup 6.3. As you see on the right side, he made now here a plan with all the steps that he should do. And in general, what I did. So maybe you can also use this in some of your projects. Maybe you work for a customer where you don't have ideal data. So this is what we assume here. While he is done with the first job creating the workspace, I want that he creates us some customer data profile, in total 500 customers, and they should be spread about France, Germany, Poland, and Spain, right, with some monthly demand. Again, it's just an example. So I on purpose did a bigger amount, and he can really create you a good profile topic, so you can really use the functionality of Claude or ChatGPT to really combine his knowledge or also with web search and so on. And then he should actually do a fixed center of gravity study, one baseline, where he should use exactly the warehouses that I provided him. And additionally, he should create as a scenario comparison and create also nice dashboards with some KPIs. So overall, I was running this already before this morning. It worked out, so it's a backup option, but we will come back later. So just that you know, this will really take some time. As you know, it really depends which model you are using. I use now here the Opus 5, one of the best models what you can use in Claude. If you use, for example, a Sonnet, it would be much faster. But I just wanted to run it with this one because this morning it actually went pretty well. And then let's come back what he is doing in the meantime. So what we can check maybe already, because we he should have created us a workspace. Yeah, and there it is. He created us now this workspace, lockup 6.0, and here is working already in here, as you can see. And there I have as a backup also the total result that should come up later. But let's Claude work here for us a bit in the background. As you most likely know, you can also open here the tools. Here you can just see all the different stuff that he's actually doing. Looks like he just did a geocoding approach, something here. And yeah, let's see what will come out. Good. Therefore, while he is working for us, we can actually go back to the presentation. What I totally forgot to mention, like always in the beginning, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them directly in the Q&A session, and then we will try to answer them. So let me take a look. Manne, was there already some questions that we should address, or everything fine until now?
No questions so far.
Okay, good, perfect. Good, then let's start actually with our new application that we released, the 3D container loading optimization. And therefore, I want to go actually in the Excel. If you don't have this app, here I have it here on the home screen directly on top. You can add the application here. If you go here to the plus, add module, and then please activate here in the transport optimization, the app 3D container loading here with a star. Then we will have this on the home screen. Let's open the application and let's generate a new template, just that we get the idea what is the input of the application. So in total, we have two input tables. The first table are the package types, and the second one are the container types. So the idea of the application is we have packages, and these packages we need to load into a container. On the left side, especially when often it's the case that you have some packages multiple times. That's why we are actually defining here a package type. So we call them SKU type. Here we have type 1 to type 4, and then you provide actually the dimensions of this type. And additionally, you can also apply a weight. So if you would apply a higher weight and the container has, for example, it doesn't have to be only a container, can be also a trailer. And you have a weight capacity restriction, you can also model this one here. In this sample data, we don't have a weight constriction because we just model it with 1 kilogram and have quite a high weight limit. Then you can model how many parcel or how many packages do you have from this type. So from type 1 that are actually quite big, 3 meters long, I have 4. And then you have some additional attributes. In the relation, it's actually if you have multiple containers and, for example, one container is going from Hamburg to Singapore, then you could write this in the relation, and obviously only the container with the correct relation will be mapped to the corresponding parcels. It's the same input like it was actually in the 2D packing application. And then you have additional settings if you can rotate the parcel horizontally and vertically for the loading, if this is allowed. The maximum load, this means how much you are allowed to load on top. And here you also have the stackability. The stackability means, I will show it to you later, if I would put here, for example, a 0, this means I am not allowed to stack anything on top of this package. If I put 3 in there, then I'm allowed to stack 3 additional packages on top, and so on. But I think it's better understandable when we just see the result. And here we have the container types. And here for the beginning, I just have one container, a 20-foot container with the length and dimensions. And yes, so let's maybe directly take a look at the sample data result. So I think then it's easier to understand what would be the output. Before we go up here in the table, I just want to show you the result. And here you can actually see our container that we actually packed. And now we packed all these different package types. You see it on the right side. Type 1, type 2 is yellow, 4, and 3 are now packed in there. Yeah, this looks for sure pretty nice because it's also in the sample data. We will also use it later with some different data. And now if you ask yourself, what are here the different tabs? These are all different packaging strategies, right? So each of these strategies, and that's what you see also here on top, have a different algorithm behind or a different strategy. And there you see then actually the KPI. So we display here only now the best ones. And here you see we were able to pack 100% of the packages into the container, right? If you have, for example, a certain strategy, what is not really greatly used for this one, then it can also happen that you cannot pack everything in here. So this is just for the starting. I just want to show you some features that we can configure. So for example, the stackability topic, I think is in the reality, in the practice use, extremely important. If I have, for example, this type 1, this is the big red box, and I say here, okay, I'm not allowed to stack anything on top, what is often the case, then it should be now you see we are not able to pack everything in the box anymore, because as you can see, the red boxes are only 2 allowed on the bottom and the other one don't fit in there anymore, right? So here you can see how this works with the stackability. If we would say 1 on top, we should have again the same result like we had before, because to stack 1 on top should be actually fine. Yeah. So now we would have actually the same result. So there are a couple of additional topics what I would really like to mention. And therefore, I prepared already some input data, or Manne actually prepared some input data that I wanted to show. So first of all, what I wanted to mention, let's take a look at some different parcels. Give me 1 second now. Sorry, I can currently not see the Excel selection. Oops. Sorry, I need to start adding again. Somehow I just crashed my Excel. So let's take a look at this one here. Let's connect this and let's connect this one here. So what is here the difference? First of all, the container is different. We have 40-foot container, it's much bigger. And we also have many small packages here. As you can see here on top, one had a length of 3 meters. So this is quite a lot, right? And here we have many small number of packages. Also here, the reason why I want to show you this will also take a bit longer, right? As you saw, now we are in the dashboard grading phase, but it took quite some time. And let's take a look what is actually here then the outcome. You can see it still works, looks also really nicely packed in the different zones and the different types combined together. And here you also quite see then the difference if you go, for example, into these different strategies, right? So the different strategies try to fit everything well in there. So now I would have here, for example, a layout where the different kinds are really mixed up, for example, right? So this is now in here. So this also works with a much bigger container and much more small package types itself. Another topics what I wanted to highlight before when you use it, what we can also do, we can also, let's check if this one works and does not close the Excel somehow. What I do here now on top, I have 2 containers, and there I would like to explain you something. It's again the similar as the sample data. Additionally, I have an additional SKU type in here, and I have 2 containers of the same kind, right? It can pack multiple containers for you. The only thing what I want to mention, how this works, we go from the container through from the top. We first pack the first container, then we go to the next container, pack this container. What we are not doing, we are not selecting what is now the best container to fit everything in there. The topic why we are currently not doing this is because it makes the problem to solve much heavier and much more complex, right? So just be aware. So currently we take the first container and pack the container, as you can see. And now we also needed actually 2 containers here, right? So we pack 2 containers. In the first container is this one, and in the second container is currently the rest in here, what is actually quite empty, right? With a utilization of 7.5%. So just that you know, we can pack multiple containers, but please be aware, we pack it from the top to the bottom of the table, right? So we would, for example, if we place here now the 40-foot container, we would not directly select then the 40-foot container. It really goes through a sequence. Yes, so I think these are actually the topics that I wanted to mention. Additionally, for sure, sorry, didn't mention this one, you can also export for sure the strategies. Here you see then the different strategies that were actually used, and you can compare with different KPIs actually the result. And even here we have done the position of the container in a coordination system, but I think the visualization makes it much easier than to follow here actually this table just as an input. Okay, perfect. So this is actually what I wanted to show you regarding our new applications. Are there any questions, Mana? So I see definitely some questions in the chat. Is there maybe something that we could not answer yet, or should we maybe take some of them up in this round?
So I answered them. I'm just answering the last one. The question was, Haider actually posted it. What happens, or how do we handle cases where we have rolls or barrels? So I'm just writing an answer, but if you want, you can also mention it.
I know you can also directly answer it. I think you build the algorithm, so it's much better that you answer it than I do. Go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, at the moment, at least, it treats packages as squares. So in case there is a round package like a barrel or something, you can just put define it as a square by its external dimensions. So like a square that would be what's the word for it? Like molded over or across this round one. So at the moment it doesn't handle barrels, for example.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, no, perfect. Good. Okay, then also this question is answered. As you saw in the meantime, Claude is still working here on some topics, right? and creating us some dashboards. As you can see, we are nearly done, but not fully. Maybe we can take a quick look already at our workspace. What did actually happen here? If we have some more results. Yes, I don't want to save this dashboard right now. As you can see, this is the workspace that he created. He created for us a customer data set with 500 entries. That's already good. So we have here a customer name that he generated for us and the location, and also a monthly demand, for example, that he generated. Let's see if this is also spread. Like again, it's a live demo. I could also not see the results before. Here we said this is most likely the scenario that he created with only the existing warehouses. So let's take a look how this looks like. So let's see how he generated the customers. So he generated customers in Germany, France, Spain, and Poland. So this also belongs here. Yeah, still Spain, most likely he used the bigger cities as a reference point because I didn't specify it correctly. So as you can see here, he spread the customer profile nicely. And here he used now the blue ones are actually the existing warehouses that we provided him. Then additionally, I asked him to run an additional scenario where you have an additional center from us optimized. So this is also what happened here. Yeah. So now we created here actually an additional warehouse. This is the green one here. And let's see when he is done with the whole scenario, because what is also pretty cool here, he can also create us some dashboards and comparison and so on, and use actually this the output data from the supply chain apps directly. Okay, but we are not there yet. Let's maybe go back to our presentation. Let me quickly go in presentation mode again. I showed you the Claude connection, still working Claude, 3D container loading optimization. And what we also did, we enhanced our Freight Matrix Plus, where we can model our freight tariffs. Now we have actually the support of this freight zoning and of some conditional surcharges that you can model your freight tariffs easier or also more realistic with some surcharges under some certain conditions and these freight zones. So what do we actually understand with this smart zoning? Therefore, we prepared also an example. Let's go in here and search for 6.3. So Giovanna created me here some matrices. So in this workspaces, I just have actually two freight matrices. Let's start with this zoning info table. So here we have a freight matrix. It's actually an absolute weight zone matrix. This means I have a zone and then I have a weight. And depending to which zone I'm transporting from or to, I have to pay accordingly to the respective weight and a specific price. So this is the idea behind. So these zones are quite common. And most of the time, you have actually behind such a zone, you have actually a zip code or you have a zip code area. And here we have now a zone, the zone Z2, Z5. Everything that starts with the postal code 1 star should be assigned to zone 2. Everything with 9 stars should be assigned to a zone Z5. We did it here on purpose, a really small example. For sure, you could also model now, for example, all ZIP2 codes, right? So everything 6, 9 star would start then would fall into a designated zone. And additionally, you can not only model here the zones, you can really model here additional conditions, right? You could, for example, model a certain city as a zone, or you could model a country as a zone, a state code as a zone, and so on, right? It's quite flexible done. Nevertheless, I think the most relevant topic is actually the zones regarding the zip code mapping. And let's apply this one. Therefore, I also prepared some input shipments. So to use this, I think like in the last update, we also showed this, we use our Freight Matrix Plus. I connect now here this table, and then we select actually the workspace that I just showed. In this workspace, there are two freight matrices in there. I want to use the zoning info table matrix, and let's start the calculation. So overall, what I want to demonstrate, as you can see, we have here zip from zip code, and now this zip code should be translated into the corresponding zone. We should also see then the according zone. I just export quickly the results. So here, everything that falls under the from into this 9 star will be assigned to the zone 5 here. And everything that starts with 1 will be assigned to zone 2, right? If we just take a look, just that it's clear how this matrix works, we take a look, okay, you are now in the from zone Z5, and we need, because it's a zone weight matrix, now let's check the weight. The weight is here 7,291 kilograms. When we go now back to this zone matrix, sorry, I forgot, was it Z5 or Z2? Second, where is the zone? Z5 and 7,000. This means Z5, 7,000. We need to fall then in this bracket here in the 8,000, because 7,000 is higher than 5,000, but lower than 8,000. So the price hopefully is 849.2. And when we go now to 849.2. So here, this is the cost. As I mentioned last time, you can also select multiple freight matrices. I selected one. That's why the best price is directly the one from the only matrix that I actually selected in this example. So this was it regarding this zoning topic, what I wanted to mention. And then additionally, what we also built an additional example is this surcharges or discounts. And therefore, we saw it already here in the configuration of the matrix. There is another table that we have here on top, not only the zoning info, we also have these other surcharges. Here you can define now as many surcharges or discounts as you want. If you apply multiple of them, then for sure we just add this up, right? So here, for example, we define fuel, ADR, delay, and you can either have the type surcharge or discount. So surcharge, in both cases, you can select them. Do you want an absolute amount flat on top, or you want to have a percentage? So here we just add 100 on top flat. And here in the discount, we give a discount of 10, right? Let's take a look how this one looks like when we apply it. And by the way, what is here really relevant, what I did not mention yet. So the surcharge that should be applied is here under other surcharges. So we have an additional column. And here you can either define one, or you can also define multiple separated by a semicolon. And I need to change it to the correct the matrix, because I just want to show you this example. When we export this now, so all of them, all the examples that I have here are actually the identical shipments. The only difference what we did, we either added a surcharge or none that we can easier compare. So here with this surcharge, it should be 100 higher than the first row. This is also the case because it's flat 100. On this row, we have actually 2 times 100 on top, so 200. And here with the delay, we get this discount in percentage. So here you can see that we actually give them, can also model a certain discount here. Okay, perfect. So these are actually the update in the Freight Matrix Plus. And if there are not any questions, then we could continue and maybe take a look what is actually going on with Claude. okay, something is happening. So he wanted to create some artifacts. Let's allow him to create this. So it looks similar. If I would not allow all in the tools, then for every tools that he would have called, he would actually ask us each all the time. So in total, he was working quite some time, but most likely he was also stuck a long time because I didn't allow him to create the artifacts. But I think now he should update it soon. As you can see here already, he created for us already a dashboard. Pretty interesting stuff in an HTML format and compared our scenario and gave a certain idea. Let's still let him finish and then we can actually analyze it in the end. So, but the topic dashboard is actually the right keyword, because I also want to show you what we changed with our dashboards in the supply chain apps. We are currently modernizing our dashboards in total, and we started with the network design category, right? What does this mean? Network design category, all the applications here under the network design, they have already a new dashboard type, including all center of gravity apps, network design plus, nearest warehouse, and location planning. Sorry, nearest warehouse does not have a dashboard, but the location planning. All of them have new dashboards. And currently we are working on that the other one also get the new dashboard layout. But let's take a look what is actually different. So let's maybe, which one should we choose? The Network Design Plus we can run through to take a look at the dashboard. And while I'm here, Network Design Plus is also running on top of our new solver, on top of the Hexaly. What is also new, and I forgot to mention that we have here also now a max solving time. So because the new solver, you can influence your solving time, same like in our premium apps, the standard solving time we set here to 5 minutes, and you can also increase it to 30 minutes to find the best solution. So for example, here, this example, we don't need 5 minutes to solve it in an optimal way. So then this is just the maximum limit, right? If he can solve it before, then this is fine. Otherwise, he will run until you set up the solving time. But this is just also an additional change, what we came in this release. But I actually wanted to show you the dashboard. So what is new in the dashboard view is, first of all, the layout is different. We decided that before you had to scroll a really long time down to see everything. Now we included here on top these different tabs. Sometimes we also added some additional charts in there. Here we have now filtering options. So for example, you can filter down to certain customers. It's an interactive dashboard now. You can change here, for example, to different warehouses and so on. Go back to all warehouses. And whenever it makes sense, so you can also change, for example, from weight to volume and so on. So you can really configure much more than before. And here on top, we also have global filters. So by the way, we have show here the main KPIs in the upper right corner. Here, for example, I can filter then on certain warehouses to narrow the whole, all the charts below down. And if you have, for example, something like this, we have also this card here on top that gives you the most important information. And then when you click on them, it's the same like I filter, for example, on a warehouse, right? A different application where I can also show it is, for example, center of gravity. Let's make a fixed center of gravity. Here you also have these topics then with the cards, where you have to group by the different centers. For sure, there are many more new features in there that I did not show. But here you also have then, for example, these cards of the center. There you have already the most important information directly on top, and you can interact with it. Now I selected, for example, 2 centers. Now down here, we compare only these 2. If I want to compare these 2 centers, I can select them. and the charts are directly adjusted accordingly. Yeah, like I mentioned, this is actually now available for the network design, and don't worry, the other applications will follow. It just takes some effort, some time from our side to rebuild all of them, and we could not do this in one release. So most likely in the next release, we have most of the dashboards are then already covered with this new setup and new technology. Okay, perfect. So this is what I wanted to also mention regarding this. Are there any additional questions, Mana?
Well, just one remark from Tanmay, actually, whether or not this MCP integration could work directly from Excel. So there is Claude in Excel as an add-in, but I personally haven't tried connecting our apps in that particular way.
So it works from everywhere where you have actually a connector. I know what he means. We have here also an add-in, the Claude. I don't think so that this one has connectors, but to be honest, I cannot answer it. I didn't try. What we need to have is actually to set up such a connector. That's why it's working, for example, for ChatGPT. If you use a different technology, nearly all of these large language models support connectors with the interface of an MCP server. But if there's a good topic that we can take up and check, but I don't know if it works in this one. Okay, but let's take a look what he actually did for us. So what is definitely interesting, he really worked there some time in the background. I will not go through and read now everything that he proposed for us. In total, can interact with him. He has here a quick summary where are also our results, as you can see. What he also did is a scenario comparison. This one we also enabled, so we can use also our scenario comparison topic, and this is also quite helpful then for the AI models, because there he can use then the result again, because he cannot only create these topics, he can also read all the result and analyze it and put it into context, right? So right now, this is just opening. While this opens, let's quickly go back. So here we have then also the dashboard and map link and so on. This is quite clear, I think. You can open all of them if you want. So here, this is just the center of gravity. Here we have our warehouses, Berlin, Lyon, Warsaw, and Madrid, what we presented in there. And here, by the way, good example, you can see the old style, the scenario comparison are still in the old dashboard format. This will also change. And now let's quickly compare. I should maybe compare the other way around, the existing scenarios with the one additional scenario. So here we have just 4 centers, right? These are all the existing warehouses. Now we added here an additional warehouse close to Paris with the help of the center of gravity application. And he generated some customer data and some customer demand for us, right? What is actually also interesting, what I did here, if you ask, for example, Claude, again, I can not judge what ChatGPT can also do this. You can also name him that he should create you a dashboard and compare the different scenarios. And here he also made some charts. Most likely he also analyzed some of our scenario comparison dashboard, for example, here with a similar service coverage and so on. But I think this is really also a helpful tool where you can save some time if you work on customer, or if you work on some projects, or if you want to generate some data and so on. And again, he can also fully save this then on the platform. You have it as a data set, what you saw here already. When we go back to our workspace, and then he is analyzing this one workspace, we have all the customer data generated and so on. And for sure, you can also give him, for example, some existing data, and he can use then this data to use it with the apps, right? So feel free to try this topic out. One thing what I just want to show you here or mention, the result is not always the same, like you most likely know with the AI. This is now the result of the dashboard that I did today. This morning, just as comparison, because I wanted to prepare it for the webinar, because it can also something go south. I did the completely same question, same analysis, but just to see the dashboard here looked a little bit different. He made it differently interactive and so on, right? Also a similar style, but he made it different analysis. So yeah, there you definitely need to also do some iterations, define the prompts accordingly. But again, this is actually not really our work or our doing. What we just enabled here is that you can actually use all the logic of the supply chain apps in combination with this kind of tools, right? So we can not influence why the dashboard looks, for example, now different than the other one. Okay, so yes, these connectors are public. The documentation is there, how you can add them. And we are also working on some listings with Anthropic. So currently we are getting registered. So hopefully this should go through soon. We got already the response, and then you can also directly, when you say here add, you can browse connectors, and then you can directly search in the store, for example, here under lockup. And then you can connect us as an additional, as a regular connector, similar like you do it with the supply chain apps in Excel. But we will notify you again when everything is through there. Okay, perfect. So I think these are all the topics. Hopefully I did not forget anything that I want to mention today. Let's quickly go back to the charts. Are there actually any questions that we should take up? Second, let me quickly go back to overview. Mana, there came no additional questions in, right? Then,
No, none that I see. I mean, there was one, but Katarina replied.
Okay, perfect. Then thank you. Whenever you have some feedback to the new functionalities, you are missing something, or you use the new applications and something is not yet working, feel free to contact us, give us feedback, and we try, like always, to improve it. And thank you very much for your time, and I wish you a nice afternoon. Thank you. Bye.